I sat on the couch, staring at the dim glow of the TV, though I wasn't really watching. The sound of laughter echoed from the kitchen, her laughter. That light, careless, almost mocking tone she used when she was with her friends. I used to love that sound. Now, it made my stomach turn. It started small. A joke here, a sarcastic comment there. At first, I ignored it. Maybe I was being too sensitive. But then I started noticing the way she talked about me when she thought I wasn't listening. "He's just so predictable," she had chuckled once. I could tell him anything, and he'd believe me. So naive. I remembered that night like it was yesterday. I had been walking past our bedroom when I heard her on the phone, probably with one of her friends. I froze. It wasn't just a joke. It was the way she said it, the disdain in her voice. Like I was beneath her. I should have confronted her then. Asked her why she spoke about me like that. But I didn't. Instead, I let it fester. Then the jokes became crueler. At a dinner party, she laughed too loudly when one of her friends made a comment about how men like me never suspected a thing. I looked at her, and she smirked, twirling the wine in her glass as if she had a secret only she knew. That was the moment something shifted inside me. I didn't argue. I didn't fight back. I just stopped caring. I withdrew, little by little. I stopped asking where she was going when she left late at night. Stopped checking if she was actually working late or if she was with someone else. Stopped reacting when she made her little cutting remarks in front of her friends. And that's when I noticed something strange. The more distant I became, the less she laughed. The more indifferent I acted, the more nervous she got. She started hovering around me, trying to get a reaction. "You're quiet," she'd say. "Something wrong?" I would just shake my head and go back to whatever I was doing. One evening, she came home later than usual, her makeup smudged, her hair slightly disheveled. She looked at me, expecting a fight. But I just turned the page of my book and didn't say a word. Her smile faltered. She was beginning to realize that the man she used to mock, the man she thought was too naive to see the truth, was slipping away from her. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't laughing anymore. A few weeks passed, and something between us had shifted entirely. I wasn't the same man I used to be, and she could feel it. There was a time when I would have done anything to keep her happy, when I would have fought for our relationship, asked her what was wrong, tried to fix things. But now I watched it all unfold with quiet detachment, observing her like she was a stranger in my home. She didn't like that. At first, she tried to test me. She started dressing up more when she went out, taking longer to get ready, spraying herself with that expensive perfume I once bought her. She'd walk past me, slowly, pausing just long enough to see if I noticed. I didn't. She started texting more, smiling at her phone, making sure I could see. "Oh, just a friend," she'd say with a smirk, waiting for me to ask who. I didn't. She started coming home later, sometimes not even bothering with an excuse. She expected me to get angry, to demand where she had been. Instead, I just glanced at the clock, nodded, and went back to whatever I was doing. Her frustration grew. She began making comments, but not the teasing ones she used to enjoy. These had a sharpness to them, a desperation. "You don't care, do you?" She snapped one night after coming home past midnight, tossing her purse on the counter with a little too much force. I shrugged. Should I? Her mouth opened slightly like she wanted to say something, but she closed it just as fast. She turned away and stormed off to our bedroom, slamming the door. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. That had been the first honest reaction I had seen from her in weeks. But I wasn't done. I knew what was happening. I knew she was seeing someone else. I had known for a while now. But the thing about betrayal is that it only has power over you if you let it. And I had decided I wasn't going to let it destroy me. So, I started making my own changes. I focused on myself. I went to the gym more, spent extra time on work, reconnected with old friends. I even picked up a hobby I had abandoned years ago, guitar. It felt good to have something for myself again, something that had nothing to do with her. That's when she really started to panic. She tried to be affectionate again, touching my arm when she spoke, laughing at my jokes a little too loudly. She tried cooking my favorite meals, playing the role of the perfect wife. But it was too late. She could feel the distance between us, and she hated it. One night, she did something she hadn't done in years. She asked me to go on a date with her. "Just us," she said softly, almost pleading. "We haven't done that in so long." I looked at her for a long moment, letting the silence stretch between us. Then, I gave her a small smile. "I have plans that night." The color drained from her face. She didn't laugh anymore after that. I woke up to the sound of soft footsteps pacing in the hallway. The clock on my nightstand read 2:47 a.m. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but then I heard the shuffle of fabric, a sigh, and the quiet creak of the bedroom door opening slightly. I didn't move. She was watching me. I could feel her standing there in the darkness, hovering near the doorframe. If I had been the man I used to be, I would have asked her what was wrong. I would have pulled her into bed, reassured her, told her everything would be okay. But I wasn't that man anymore, and I knew she wasn't standing there because she missed me. She was standing there because she didn't recognize the person I had become. And that scared her. By morning, she was back to playing her games. She sat across from me at the dining table, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly, waiting for me to ask where she had been last night. I didn't. "You never ask me anything anymore," she muttered, finally breaking the silence. I took a sip of my own coffee, pretending to think about it. "Guess I don't have anything to ask." Her grip tightened around the spoon. She forced a laugh, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You used to be so clingy. So obsessed with me." I raised an eyebrow. "And that bothered you, didn't it?" She went quiet. She wasn't used to this version of me. She had spent so much time pushing me away, convincing herself that I'd never leave, that I'd always be there, desperate for her affection. But I had stopped playing that game. And now, for the first time, she was realizing that she might have miscalculated. That weekend, she tried something new. I had made plans to go out, nothing special, just a drink with some friends. The moment she heard me on the phone confirming, she suddenly decided that she wanted to spend quality time together. She leaned against the doorframe of our bedroom, wearing an old t-shirt of mine, a nostalgic smile on her lips. "We never just stay in anymore," she said, tilting her head. "Remember when we used to spend the whole weekend just cuddling in bed?" I glanced at her, then went back to buttoning my shirt. "No, I don't." That knocked the air right out of her. She blinked rapidly, then forced out a breathy laugh. "Wow, you've changed." I smirked. "Yeah, I have." I walked past her without another word, grabbed my keys, and left. That night, I didn't get a single text from her. No passive-aggressive messages asking when I'd be home, no fake concern about whether I was okay. And when I finally walked through the door, she was sitting on the couch, staring at the dark TV screen like she had been waiting for me. For the first time in years, her face looked uncertain. And I realized something. For the longest time, I had been afraid of losing her. I had spent so much energy trying to be the perfect husband, trying to hold on to her, trying to be enough. But now, as I stood there, looking at the woman who had once thought she had complete control over me, I felt nothing. I wasn't the one losing her. She was the one losing me. I don't know exactly when it happened, but at some point, my presence in the house became something different to her. It wasn't comforting. It wasn't predictable. It wasn't something she could take for granted anymore. It was unsettling. And I could tell. The way her eyes darted toward me when she thought I wasn't looking, the way she hesitated before speaking, the way she no longer carried herself with that air of effortless confidence she used to have when she was certain I'd always be waiting for her. One night, I was in the living room reading when she walked in. She was wearing a short dress, the kind she hadn't worn around me in a long time. There was an edge of desperation in her movements, a forced casualness as she leaned against the arm of the couch, pretending to scroll through her phone. I could feel her staring, waiting for me to say something, to notice, to care. But I didn't. Finally, she cleared her throat. "So, you're really not going to ask me where I've been?" I turned a page. "No." Silence. A long, drawn-out pause where I could feel the weight of her expectations pressing against me like a physical force. She wanted me to crack, to show some kind of emotion, to give her proof that she still had control over me. Instead, I just kept reading. She shifted, clearly irritated. "You're so different now," she muttered. "It's weird." That made me smirk. "Yeah." I finally looked up, meeting her gaze. "How does that make you feel?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. And that was the moment I realized she had never actually considered how things would be if I stopped trying. If I stopped giving her the attention she had gotten so used to. She had spent so much time making fun of me, playing her little games, laughing behind my back, that she never once stopped to think what would happen if the tables turned. I put my book down and leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "You know," I said slowly, "I think you liked it better when I was weak. When I was always chasing after you, trying to make you happy. When you had all the power." Her lips parted slightly, a flicker of something flashing across her face. Was it guilt? Fear? I chuckled, shaking my head. "It's funny," I continued, "because I used to think that if I just tried hard enough, if I loved you enough, you'd see me the way I saw you. But now? Now I can't even remember what that felt like." The color drained from her face. She tried to play it off, rolling her eyes. Oh, come on. Don't act like you're some new person just because you stopped simping over me. I smirked. No, you're right. I'm not a new person. I just finally realized that I was wasting my time on someone who never deserved it. She inhaled sharply, like I had slapped her. And for the first time in a long time, she had no comeback. No snarky remark, no condescending laugh. Just silence. I stood up, stretching lazily before walking past her. As I reached the doorway, I paused, glancing back over my shoulder. You should get some rest, I said lightly. You look tired. Then I left her standing there, speechless. That night, she didn't come to bed. I woke up late the next morning, feeling an unfamiliar sense of calm. For years, I had been the one waking up first, making coffee, waiting for her to come downstairs and flash me a distracted smile before disappearing into her phone or heading out for the day. But now, I didn't care where she was, and that realization felt freeing. I walked downstairs, half expecting her to be in the kitchen, but she wasn't there. The coffee pot was empty. No lingering scent of perfume, no sound of her rummaging through the fridge. Nothing. Just quiet. I almost laughed. She was trying to play her own version of my game now, trying to see if I'd come looking for her. I wouldn't. Instead, I made my own breakfast, took my time, and went about my morning as if I lived alone. It was peaceful, something I hadn't felt in a long time. And yet, I could feel the tension in the air, like an invisible string stretched between us, growing tighter with every moment she went without my attention. Around noon, I heard the front door open. I didn't bother turning around as she stepped into the house, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. I could feel her watching me, waiting for some kind of reaction. You didn't even call, she finally said, her voice carefully neutral. I took another bite of my sandwich. Why would I? She scoffed. Because I didn't come home last night? I shrugged. You don't usually tell me where you go anyway. Figured it was just another one of your late nights. That wasn't the response she wanted. I could hear the frustration creeping into her tone. You really don't care, do you? I finally turned to face her, leaning back against the counter. You're the one who wanted this, right? She blinked. Wanted what? This freedom, I gestured vaguely. The fun, the excitement, the new experiences you always hinted at with your friends. Her face twitched, just for a second. Funny how it's not so exciting anymore, huh? I said, tilting my head. Not when I'm not playing the role of the clueless husband. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She wasn't used to this. For years, she had thrived off my reactions, off my jealousy, my pain, my constant need to win her back. But now? Now, she was the one feeling unsteady. I stepped past her, grabbing my keys from the table. I've got plans, I said casually. Don't wait up. I could feel her eyes on me as I walked out the door. The tables had turned, and she knew it. The evening air was crisp as I drove through the city streets, the low hum of the radio filling the silence. For years, my life had revolved around her wants, her needs, her approval. But tonight, I was living for myself. I had plans, and for the first time in what felt like forever, they had nothing to do with trying to please her. I met up with an old friend, someone I hadn't seen in years. We grabbed a couple of drinks at a quiet bar, talking about everything and nothing at all. It was refreshing, being around someone who actually cared about what I had to say, instead of just waiting for their turn to speak. No forced conversations, no careful tiptoeing around a fragile ego. Just real, honest interaction. Halfway through my drink, my phone buzzed on the table. I glanced down. Her name. I let it ring. Not gonna answer that? My friend asked, raising an eyebrow. Nah, I said, taking another sip. I'm busy. And I meant it. Later that night, when I finally got home, the house was dark except for the faint glow coming from the living room. I found her curled up on the couch, still in the dress she had left in, her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked up the second I stepped inside, eyes scanning me like she was searching for something. Anger, jealousy, regret. But she wouldn't find it. Where were you? She asked, voice quieter than usual. I shrugged, kicking off my shoes. Out. Her jaw tightened. Out where? I smirked. Why do you care? She sat up a little straighter, a flicker of something unreadable flashing across her face. You never used to just disappear like that. I let out a short laugh. Yeah, and you never used to care if I did. Silence stretched between us. She licked her lips, choosing her words carefully. You've been acting really different lately. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. Or maybe I just finally got tired of being the only one trying. Her face paled. For the first time, I saw it, the realization sinking in. The weight of everything she had done, all the little games, all the mocking laughter, all the time she assumed I'd always be there, no matter how much she pushed me away. She had spent so long convincing herself that I needed her more than she needed me. But now she wasn't so sure. I pushed off the doorframe and turned toward the stairs. I'm going to bed. I didn't check to see if she followed. I woke up the next morning to an unfamiliar silence. No sound of the shower running, no clatter of plates in the kitchen, no passive-aggressive sighs as she scrolled through her phone, waiting for me to acknowledge her. The house felt empty. For a moment, I almost wondered if she had left. But when I walked downstairs, I found her at the kitchen table, sitting in front of a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. She wasn't looking at her phone. She wasn't even pretending to be occupied. Instead, she was staring at the surface of the table, her fingers lightly tracing the rim of her mug. She looked up as I entered, studying me carefully. There was something different in her expression, something I hadn't seen in a long time. Hesitation. You were gone for a long time last night, she finally said. I shrugged, pouring myself a fresh cup of coffee. Yeah. She waited, expecting me to explain. I didn't. Her fingers curled slightly against the ceramic. Who were you with? I sipped my coffee, leaning against the counter. Does it matter? Her breath hitched just a little, but she covered it well. I was just curious. That was a lie. She wasn't just curious. She was anxious. I could hear it in the way her voice wavered ever so slightly, in the way she was forcing herself to sound indifferent. I could see it in her posture, how she kept shifting like she couldn't quite get comfortable. I had spent so long chasing after her, trying to be enough, trying to be the version of myself that she wanted. And now that I had stopped, now that I had turned my focus inward instead of pouring every ounce of my energy into keeping her entertained, she didn't know how to handle it. I set my mug down, tilting my head slightly. Why are you asking? Her lips pressed together. I don't know. You've been different. I barely see you anymore. I let out a soft laugh. That's funny. You never seemed to care before. She flinched. Just a little. But I caught it. She swallowed, playing with the edge of the sleeve of her sweater. She hesitated, like she wasn't sure if she wanted to say what was on her mind. I don't know how we got here. That made me pause. Because the thing was, I did. We got here because she never thought I would change. Because she assumed I would always be waiting, always be the safe and predictable option, no matter how much she pushed me aside. She thought I'd be grateful for whatever scraps of affection she decided to throw my way, because that's what I had always done before. But the second that changed, the second I stopped needing her validation, stopped playing into her little power games, she started losing control. And she hated it. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. What do you want me to say? She blinked. Do you want me to tell you I miss how things used to be? I tilted my head. That I want to go back to the way things were? That I'll keep fighting for you even after everything? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I chuckled, shaking my head. Because I won't. Her breath caught. What? I pushed off the counter, walking past her toward the front door. I could feel her eyes burning into my back, like she was trying to figure out how this had all slipped so far out of her control. I grabbed my keys from the table, not bothering to look back. I've got plans. And then I left. The sun had begun to set by the time I got back home. I wasn't in a rush. The house wasn't a place I felt tied to anymore. It was just a space I happened to live in. And she? She wasn't the center of my world anymore. That realization used to scare me. Now, it felt like freedom. As I stepped inside, the air felt heavy. She was there, sitting on the couch, waiting. Her eyes flicked up the moment I entered, scanning me as if she was trying to read my thoughts before I could even speak. There was no phone in her hand this time, no forced smirk, no passive-aggressive comments. Just silence. I closed the door behind me and met her gaze, standing across the room. I didn't say anything. I wanted to see what she would do next. After a long pause, she let out a breath. I don't like this, she admitted softly. I don't like how things feel between us. I arched a brow. Oh. She frowned. You're different. You make that sound like a bad thing. Her lips pressed together. It is for me. I nodded slowly, taking a seat in the armchair across from her. I had spent so much time trying to figure her out, trying to understand what she wanted, how I could be better. But now, I wasn't interested in playing that game anymore. For the first time, I wanted to know what I wanted. She stared down at her hands, twisting her fingers together. I don't know when I started taking you for granted. I chuckled lightly. I do. She looked up, eyes wide. I tilted my head. The moment you thought I'd never leave. Her expression crumbled slightly. For the first time, she looked genuinely regretful, not just frustrated that she was losing control, but regretful that she had ever put herself in this position to begin with. I messed up, she admitted. I don't know how to fix it. I sighed, leaning back. I don't know if you can. Silence. She swallowed hard. So, what now? I studied her, really looking at her. For years, she had been the person I revolved around, the person I bent over backward for. I had spent so much time trying to make her happy that I had forgotten about my own happiness in the process. But now? Now, I wasn't that man anymore. I stood up, exhaling slowly. I think we both need to figure out who we are when we're not making each other miserable. Her breath hitched. You're leaving. I shrugged. I'm choosing myself. She didn't try to stop me. She didn't beg, didn't make excuses. And I think that was the biggest sign of all. She knew this was coming. As I packed my bags that night, I felt lighter than I had in years. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. A new chapter, a new version of myself that I hadn't even met yet. And for the first time in a long time, I was excited about what came next. And her? Well, I guess she finally realized sometimes, when you push someone away for too long, they stop coming back. And when that happens, the laughter stops.